Hello, in this class I'm going to point out 3 things to keep in mind that you need to do when you're trying to master the spin of the knife so that it hits your target point first. And there's 2 types of accuracy that you're trying to master in knife throwing, precision knife throwing. One is to accurately be able to spin the knife right so it hits point first, which really, that's the big thrill in it to me, is just getting that right. I get a sense of gratification every time I hit the target. And that's the second type of precision accuracy that you're trying to master, is hitting the target point first. First master spinning the knife so it hits the target area point first, then work on mastering hitting the target, precision. And I'm not going to drag this out. First thing you got to keep in mind is you're going to need to practice a lot. You've got to train your mind and your arm to do what you're trying to do. Your sense of depth perception, the weight of the knife, a lot of things, calculations. So you're going to need to practice a lot, and there's no way around it. No, there's none. So practice a lot, practice smart, practice safe, and that's the whole goal of this knife throwing course. I mean, I could be standing there with you, and you're still the one that's got to be throwing the knife. All I can do is talk to you like I'm doing in these videos. Talk and demonstrate. And so you're going to need to practice a lot, and practice smart, practice safe. And you will get it. You will learn it. Trust me, you will. The second thing you need to do, I don't know what your reasons are for learning knife throwing or taking this up. For me, it's the challenge. I enjoy the challenge, and that's why I throw all different sizes of knives. All different sizes of knives and types, because every time I pick up a different knife, I've got to make a new calculation in my mind and in my arm, as well as with the target, how hard to throw it and such. So I enjoy the challenge of being able to throw various knives. But if all you want to do is learn how to stick the knife as fast as possible, with reliability, you're going to want to throw the same knife. And I mean, literally, it could be the same knife as you only have one of them. Ideally, like if this was a knife, I like this railroad spike knife. Maybe I'd buy 4, 5, 6 of these. Maybe more. I don't know, depending on my budget. But the same knife. That way you don't have to make a new calculation every time you throw. Your arm and your mind get very familiar with this particular knife, whichever one you choose. It depends upon your range. If you're throwing outdoors here, I say a bigger knife, but if you're stuck with indoors, a smaller knife. Whatever you use, all right? I've got a class on knife size, so you know what you need. So practice a lot. And number 2 is, if just learning to stick the knife as fast as possible, use the same knife. And I hate to say it, you could take it a step further, throw it the same range. But I advocate, even if you use the same knife type, learn to throw at all different ranges. But that's up to you. Use the same knife, throw it the same range. If that's all you want to do is learn to stick the knife. Or like me, mix it up, different size knives, different ranges is what I like, because I'm just in it for the challenge. Now, here's 2 guys that made a living off knife throwing. One from history, and this would be GUSTAVO Arcaris. And GUSTAVO was from Italy, Naples, Italy, and he immigrated to the United States in 1887 with his wife, who's in this picture, as his knife throwing assistant. And I want you to note something about GUSTAVO's knives, and that's that they're all identical. And there's a reason for that, because he's not trying to make it challenging. Why would he? He's throwing knives all around his wife. I mean, he's going to try to take as much of the challenge out of it as possible, for obvious reasons. So he's using the same knives. And I'm not sure if he threw by the blade or the handle. I'm not sure. It's irrelevant. So that's the Gustavo Archaeus, and he's also known as the Great Archaeus, and you can find a lot of him on the internet. The next one I want to bring up to you is a contemporary who lives in my own state of New York, and that would be the Reverend David, oh God, what's his name? Adamovic. Reverend David Adamovic, also known as the Great Throdini. That's right, the Great Throdini, and here's his picture. Now I want you to notice that he also uses identical knives, custom jobs. I think just like the Great Archaeus, his knives look like they were custom made, and he had quite a few of them. And so does the Great Throdini. They're all the same knife. And I think he throws by the handle, for whatever it's worth, judging by the videos and things I've seen on him. But he also is throwing at a woman, or not at her, but around her. And so he's not trying to put a lot of challenge into this. And the Great Throdini, he actually is pretty amazing. You could catch his act on the internet, on YouTube or some other, platforms, and he's pretty amazing. He holds some world records for accuracy and speed in knife throwing, and I highly recommend checking him out. But for this class, I want you to note that he's using the same knives, because they're not in it. Neither him nor Archaeus before him, picture off, were into knife throwing for the challenge. It was their business, and they wanted to take as much of the challenge out of it, because they're throwing it around living targets. Lovely ones too, I might add. So they're using the same identical knife that they're very familiar with. So it's the second one. Okay, or be like myself and mix your knives up just for the challenge, because I'm throwing at trees. I had my knife throwing range where I had a big slab of wood hanging, off a chain and rope. I can't figure it out, because I used to drive my motorcycle in there, make these videos and throw knives. Lovely little spot. Then a huge 2 trees, big ones, fell and blocked the path for me to get in with my motorcycle. So I started walking back in there, and then I just went in there yesterday to make this video, and this giant, ancient, old tree fell right in front of my, here's a picture of that, fell right in front of my target. It's weird. I can't figure it out. So I'm out here at a different location. Alright, so the third thing you want to do in trying to master the knife throwing, the spin for this is, especially if you're starting out, walk the blade through, walk it through. And I showed you how to do that when I demonstrated the blade held half turn and the handle held full turn. So take note at the halfway point where the knife is, and it will help your mind internalize, which will take the mystique out of the whole thing quite a lot faster. So like I'll demonstrate, if I'm throwing at that tree, I just walk it through and take note at the halfway point. So I'm throwing by the handle, so it's going to do a full turn into the target. So by the handle, I throw, and the knife's turning, and at the halfway point, the point should be facing where I threw from. It continues on the same spin. So, alright. So at the halfway point, the knife should be facing right where you're at with the camera. And then back. And that helps simplify it, so that, you're not trying to figure out the spin between you and the target. All you got to do is get the knife, just do a half a spin, halfway point. And if you can do that, it's going to hit point first. Right. So the next thing actually, the fourth thing actually is in another class, but be cognizant of your throwing posture, and I'm going to do another class on that. So the three things to keep in mind in learning to master the spin of the knife is practice. You're going to need to practice a lot. And the more work you put into this, the more practice, the better and faster you're going to learn it. The second thing is to use the same type of knife, just like the great Archaeus or the great Throdini. If all you want to do is master sticking the knife as quick as possible, throw the same type of knife. The third thing is to help you internalize what you're trying to do from whatever range, walk it through like I just showed you, and take special note of where the knife spin should be halfway between you and your target. And it's going to help you a lot to internalize it. So that's really it for this class, honestly. That's all. Okay, next class.